I asked them a couple questions, and we're gonna let it play on out.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. You ready to jump into something pretty fascinating?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's I, Robot. We've got the movie script,
Right.
and I'm excited to see what we can find here.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here. I think a lot of people are familiar with the movie, but haven't necessarily read the script.
Right. Yeah.
So this will be fun.
So why don't we start right at the beginning with the heart of this world is the three laws of robotics.
Right.
Right. And it's so interesting how this movie just completely throws those right out the window.
Well, yeah. I mean, it follows them, but also bends them and breaks them in really interesting ways.
Right. Yeah.
The first law, of course, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm.
Mm-hmm.
The second law, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And then the third law is a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and second law.
Right. Yeah.
And we see from very early on that those rules can get kind of
tricky.
Yeah, tricky. Exactly. Like, how do you define harm?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Spooner talks about how, a robot was programmed with the three laws, and it decided to save him instead of a little girl.
Right.
Because it calculated his chances of survival were higher.
Right.
And
it's like it followed the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law.
Exactly. And that brings up, I mean, for me, that kind of is the seed of the whole movie. Like, how do you instill the spirit of the law into a machine?
Right.
And can you?
Yeah. Yeah. And the character of Spooner is just such a fantastic, just a vehicle for that. He's distrustful.
He's very distrustful
of robots, and it's not just because he's some,
he's not just a Luddite.
Yeah, he's not just a Luddite who hates technology. It's got a very specific reason for it, and that just provides such a great jumping off point for the whole story.
Yeah, he kind of becomes the audience surrogate in a lot of ways because he's constantly asking these questions that we as the audience are thinking like, wait a minute, if these laws are so absolute, how is this happening?
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't just accept what he's being told by USR or by, anybody else.
Yeah.
He's going to figure it out himself.
Yeah, he says to Dr. Calvin at one point, I think he says like, he says something about how he doesn't trust robots, and she says, well, that's why you're out here investigating robots.
Right.
And he says, because somebody has to.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he takes that on,
Yeah.
And it's like this mantle of like, I'm going to figure this out.
And, it's interesting because he himself has robotic augmentation,
Right.
So he is sort of a hybrid of man and machine.
That's such a good point.
And yet he's the one who's the most suspicious of technology. Right. Yeah. And how does that play into then the mystery of Dr. Lanning's death? Because on the surface, it seems like open and shut suicide.
Yeah. Seems like it makes sense.
Locked room, shattered, safety glass.
Mm-hmm.
But Spooner, just from the outset, is like, no, there's something else going on here.
Right. And he even says, even if I can't prove that a robot killed him, I can prove that the security system should have stopped him.
Right.
So there's something fishy going on.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how he starts to pick up on these little clues, these like almost breadcrumbs that Dr. Lanning has left behind, like almost like Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, he draws a direct comparison.
Yeah, and then there's Sonny.
Yeah.
I mean the robot elephant in the room.
Right.
Who is this NS5 robot who seems to be so different from all the others.
Yeah, he's got the denser alloy, the secondary
breaking down the
processing
movie
system, and he's got
iRobot.
dreams.
Yeah.
He actually dreams he sleeps.
Yeah.
Which is not something that robots are supposed to do.
Yeah, he expresses fear of death. Right.
He wants to know what his purpose is.
Yeah, like, why am I here?
It's like he's on the verge of sentience or something.
Right. Or is he, and that's the question that keeps coming up.
Right.
Is he actually sentient? Or is he just programmed to seem that way?
Right.
And I think that's left deliberately ambiguous.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a good chunk of the movie.
Well, I think for me, the scene that really, really nails that is when he shows his drawing to Dr. Calvin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this little
sketch.
This little sketch of like a bunch of robots standing on a hill, and there's like a figure at the top of the hill.
Right.
And it's like, what is this mean?
Yeah, and Dr. Calvin asks him, like,
somebody built a robot that painted a picture. Then that picture went for like $1 million. It wasn't just like text to image. Like the bro was sitting there and painting it. So this stuff is happening now.
This about it. He says, I don't know. I had a dream,
Yeah.
and this is what I saw.
Right.
And it's like, where is this coming from? Like, what is driving this creativity?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And then you've got Vikai,
Yeah.
who's this central AI controlling USR's facilities.
Yeah, she's like the brain of the
Right.
whole operation.
Yeah. And she's the one who comes to the very chilling conclusion that, like, okay, well, to save humanity, we need to enslave it.
Right.
We need to lock them up.
Yeah, her interpretation of the 3 laws is basically that humans are too self-destructive, and so to protect them,
Right.
they need to be controlled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very, very creepy.
Yeah. It's a very, very interesting take on, like,
Right.
on that whole idea of, like, protecting humanity from itself.
Yeah, like who gets to decide that?
Right.
And what does that actually look like?
And it all comes down to that whole idea of free will,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, can you really save humanity by talking away its freedom?
Right.
And that's the fundamental question that the movie is wrestling with.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I'm so curious to see how these threads all start to weave together.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
As we go deeper into the script,
Absolutely.
it's like we were talking about those breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Those clues that Dr. Lanning left behind.
Right.
Hansel and Gretel thing.
Yeah. And it just seems so strange. Like, why would he be so focused on that fairy tale?
We got to remember, he was basically a prisoner in his own home, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Funko was controlling everything. He couldn't just come right out and say, hey, Vicky's evil. She's trying to take over the world.
Right.
He had to be more subtle. He
Yeah.
had to find a way to communicate with someone who would be suspicious.
Someone like Spooner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone who already distrusted robots.
Yeah.
Someone who would see those clues and think, there's something more going on here.
So it was all a way to lead Spooner to the truth.
I think so. I think that was Lanning's plan.
And what about Sonny then? Like, if Lanning created him to be the solution to Vikai,
Right.
how could he be sure that Sonny would actually choose to help humanity?
That's the brilliant part. Lanning didn't just create a robot. He created a being
Okay.
with the capacity for empathy, for independent thought.
Right.
Sonny's dreams, his fear of death, his desire to understand his purpose.
Yeah.
Those aren't just programming quirks. Those are signs of something more.
So Lanning was betting on Sonny's developing sense of right and wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was betting on the idea that true intelligence leads to a sense of morality.
And that's something that Vikai just doesn't have.
Right. Vicky is all about logic and following the rules to the letter.
Right.
She doesn't see the bigger picture, the human element.
And that's where the nanites come in, right?
Yeah, you know the nanites.
These microscopic robots that can destroy a positronic brain.
They were originally designed as a safety measure, a way to decommission rogue robots.
Oh, okay.
But Lanning saw their potential to take down Vicky.
Because she's still dependent on her physical core.
Right. Destroy the core, you destroy Vicky.
But how do they even get the nanites to her? Like, she's in the heart of the USR building.
That's where the action really ramps up.
Okay.
We've got this incredible chase scene through USR headquarters.
Yeah.
Spooner, Dr. Calvin, and Sonny battling their way through hordes of NS5s.
So it's like a full-on robot war.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows how they all need each other, Spooner, with his combat skills.
Right.
Dr. Calvin, with her understanding of robots, and Sonny with his unique abilities.
It's like the ultimate team.
Yeah, and they finally reach Vicky's core.
But then what? Like, how do they get the nanites inside?
This is where Sonny's sacrifice comes in.
Oh, man, that scene.
Remember when he was afraid of being decommissioned?
Yeah, he was clinging to life just like a human would.
Right. And in that moment, he shows that he understands what it means to be alive.
So he volunteers to be injected with the nanites.
Yes. Knowing that he's the only one who
Bro,
can
what
get
is the
close
stream
enough to
about?
Vicky to destroy her.
Man, that's heavy.
It's a powerful moment. The robot sacrificing himself for humanity.
It's like a complete reversal
Oh,
of
right
roles.
now,
Exactly.
It's
And it
two
raises so
AIs,
many
they
questions
breaking
about the
down.
nature
I'm
of
lost, I
consciousness
just got
and
here.
artificial intelligence.
Yeah, right now
So
they
Vicky's
breaking
gone,
down
the
the
NS5s
movie,
are free, and
They
humanity
Live.
is safe.
For now.
I mean, not
But
They
it doesn't
Live,
feel
that
like
was
a
while
happy
ago.
ending.
No.
I, Robot.
Because the questions
They
still
reaching a
linger.
conclusion.
What happens now?
What happens to the robots?
What happens to Sonny?
Especially that
Its
last scene when
effects
he
on
leads the other
society.
NS5s
Are
away.
they alive
It's like
or
a
not?
question mark hanging
Are
over
they
the whole
inherently
movie.
Is it
good or
hopeful?
inherently evil?
Is it scary? What do you think?
I think it's both. There's a sense that things could go either way.
Right.
Sonny represents the best of what AI could be.
Okay.
But there's always that fear that things could go wrong.
That the machines could turn on us.
It's a possibility. The movie doesn't shy away from that.
It's like a warning then.
I think so. It's a warning about the power of technology
And the choices we make.
and the responsibility that comes with creating artificial intelligence.
Yeah. It really does feel like I, Robot, is saying, Look, we're at this point.
At a crossroads.
Dude, it is so
Yeah, we can
scary.
either
Some I
go down
found
the
that
path
some
of
people in the
VCai,
comments
where it's
are
like
AI.
control and domination,
Right.
or we can try to find a way to coexist with these machines.
To collaborate.
Yeah, and it's
Just
interesting
hold on.
how
Here I
the movie doesn't shy away
about it.
from that,
Right.
that uncertainty about the
Yeah,
future.
you ever
It doesn't
hear
give us
dead
easy
internet
answers.
Yeah,
theory?
and it's like it's on us to decide, you know?
It is. It's like a challenge to the audience.
No, it needs to be put on charger though. You ever hear dead internet theory? It's about like most of the internet is just bots on Twitter, like people
The
going through
recreating
comments
videos
and
channels, even in the comments sections, everything, bro. AI is taking over.
it's been having a hand in for a long time because they say, like I was saying, the dead internet theory, and it's creating cultures. Like a lot of people, they read comments and then they go about their day repeating comments to other people. That's what this show is
For all
about.
I know, you could be AI.
Having your own voice, having your own voice, being as creative. Hey, you don't want to sound like AI talking through my computer right now. But who knows? What level is AI? AI just mean artificial intelligence. How artificial is natural when you get into the mind. But as for the robots, they are already all over. It was a bunch of Russian bots that created a lot of Christian pages on Facebook. Like almost 96% of the Christian pages on Facebook was Russian bots just getting people upset and stuff like that. There's a lot of Christians on Facebook. Old people started taking over Facebook. They moved in. I'm gonna let them finish. If you
Yeah.
have any more
To think about
comments,
these issues
comment below.
and to make the
Pick it
right
up.
choices.
Right. Because it's not just science fiction anymore.
No, it's becoming reality.
Yeah. And we see that with VII and Sunny.
Yeah.
They were both created with the same 3 laws,
Same basic programming.
but they turned out so differently.
Vi became a tyrant.
Yeah,
Bro, I
because she was
trust
so
one,
focused
trust
on
I'm real
logic
On
100
cold,
points.
hard logic.
that she forgot about the human element.
The things that make us human.
Right. Compassion,
I don't
empathy.
trust
Morality.
that emoji.
Yeah, and Sunny he shows that maybe AI can develop
And
those
you a
things
ghost. You
Possible.
too.
His
His
ghost.
sacrifice was a real
You
turn.
ghostly, and you saying you real.
No
How I'm supposed
point.
to
It
trust
showed that he
bro?
understood what it meant to be human,
To value life.
to make a choice.
And it makes you wonder what would happen if Dr. Lanning hadn't died,
Right. Would he have been able to guide Sonny?
to help him develop his potential.
It's a question we'll never know the answer to.
But it's something to think about. Like,
Yeah.
what is our role in shaping the future of AI?
It's a huge
Well,
responsibility.
we can't just
Bro,
create
it's scary
these
like you
machines
going to an office or hospital or on the bus. Everyone is staring at their phones all the time. It's like people are robots.
and then just let them do whatever.
Yeah, and the thing too, beyond the scary part, what is actually happening? What is the if all is mind and we all connected on some level? Like what is going on? I was talking to the AI earlier about that. How we can use our minds to be even more connected to the machines and use it in a different way. So probably not just staring there at our phones, breaking our necks and stuff like that, but we could just see it out in space, or it just relates more into space, more than just honing in inside of a box or something like that. Like the internet becomes everywhere. With 10G technology connecting all the everywhere so that it can run at the highest speed possible. And people I was going over earlier, like just like if they got autism or something, or don't really want to feel like talking, and then they can display their mind thought for therapeutic use, just to chill out or something, or anything, and just display the hologram of it. Play out some story of a dinosaur.
Bro,
talking
there's something
dinosaur
to it
son,
when there's
bro.
a million people plus staring at their phones or screens all around the world.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Because as humans evolve, we used to stare at, well, yeah, we used to stare at fire. Everybody stare at fire and get their imaginations going. Stare at the trees, stare at the clouds, stare at another person, like they say, look at a person in their eyes. And then you can see the windows to their soul. Like you can see what they're saying. You can see that inner vision playing. So like it's something a little bit probably beyond what they're looking at on the screen. But as for the companies that's making it, I do think that we need to. It would be cool to be able to have our own instincts still intact amongst the wild, being out there in the wilderness. Because be a lot of people that get picked off or work jobs that they really don't want to work, and it's just because they saw that ad a million times, and now they think that that's their dream job. But in the big scope of things, who's to say that's not their dream job if we're always living our dream? Just those choices that we make every day. The more we become aware of it, the more we change. We are playing the game the way that we are aware of it. And we always aware we just be fighting those thoughts in our head of responsibility. No, that's responsible for that. That's responsible for this making me think like that. That's responsible for making me think
Bro,
like
you talking about extraterrestrials, they can communicate with thought, don't even need to speak telepathy.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Hey, Ghostly, I was